one who violated peace. We had peace, and then Russia made it no longer peace. And then they were fighting, and we went, I mean, a little bit before
we were promising not to expand NATO for decades, and we just keep doing it.
Actually, we never.
And shout out to my man Daniel Castro. Seth sends her love. Shout out to Seth. Hey, shout out, man. Hey, shout out Seth, supporter and mod. And shout out my man Daniel Welch. He said, this is 10 for Kim for Kim West to call in. So Kim, man, stick around because that call in line is gonna be open real soon for you. And we definitely want you to call in. It's be interesting.
Or formally promise that, but
formally.
Yeah,
it was a memo. It wasn't a treaty.
Yeah. Number one, but number two, like, was that
anyone?
We didn't invite Ukraine into NATO. Is that what you guys talked about? Like, there was no offer.
Before they invaded, Ukraine specifically said we're not going to be we're not entering NATO, and the United States was like, yeah, it's not happening, and Russia still invaded.
It is not. Well, let's clarify. The issue wasn't NATO. The issue was the European Union. And so Vladimir Putin went to Ukraine and said, if you open up your borders to trade with Europe, and we have open borders with you, European goods will flood into Russia and it'll destabilize our economy. So you have to choose either Europe or Russia. The issue was Ukraine largely was like, you mean we get access to the Schengen zone and European trade, but we lose Russia? Europe, Russia got pissed and said, no, hold on. We need Sevastopol. We need Crimea. We can't lose that to the West. Now you can make the arguments about what you think happened with the ousting of Yanukovych. A lot of people believe that it was U.S. aid and the CIA that went in to help foment these groups that ultimately stormed his mansion and ousted the guy, forced him to flee to Russia. But this bubbling conflict in the country and political destabilization was definitely both Russia and NATO Western forces vying through political means to gain control of Ukraine. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that all that dynamic is very important, and I don't think Russia should have a say in.
So it's not like they just invaded out of nowhere. You know what I mean? I think it's important to understand, like,
what?
Yeah, that is. It's what you were just like. You kind of just back off immediately on your own position right away.
I don't even know what my own position is. I'm saying all of those things contribute. That doesn't make it justified. Someone can be.
No, you said there was peace, and then Russia violated it, and then backed off in the position the second it was clarified.
Wait. Hold on. But what are you talking about?
I don't think that was a contradiction.
That was
you could say
okay.
You could say that
our position. I think me and Andrew's position is. We need to stop sending aid to Ukraine and end this.
Yeah, we got your position.
That's our
position.
You
can violate peace for a reason. He had a reason. I just don't think it's a justified reason. We shouldn't have started a war over it.
Let's ask the simple question.
Can you acknowledge there's a difference between what you just said, Andrew?
No. Your implication.
Here's the thing, though. Who are we to? I mean, okay, you know what? Us agreeing with why Putin started it really don't matter. The man told us how it could get started, and we did it anyway. He literally said, "Yo, I'm gonna walk into Ukraine if y'all try to approach my borders." And what we do? Well, not what we do, but what NATO do. It approached on his borders. And then what he do? Said exactly what he was going to do. Is he said, look, you're going to see me in Ukraine if you go ahead and stretch your border into my territory any closer to Russia. And what we do? We tested him on it. And now we're upset. Now we're also shocked this man did what he did. Look, I don't agree with the man Putin did, but you can't get mad at a man for doing what he said he was going to do, especially when he gave you a fair warning. And then we gave him a verbal agreement, which should have been written in paper, but we can blame that one on Putin. Honestly, he should have got that written down.
Occasion was everyone was minding their own business and getting along fine, and then the Russians moved into the Ukraine. Right?
Everything was perfect.
Let's ask the question that Myron brought up. Should we cut off the aid and just say no more involvement in Ukraine?
Zero.
No, I don't think so.
I think end all aid, stop it, and end the fight now. Like, we need to end it now.
If Ukraine wanted to end the fight, then we could figure out what.
Who cares?
We're not at the mercy.
Hold on. Let me say this.
They're the ones fighting. We're not going to.
If we're funding the conflict, we're giving them all the aid. We dictate what happens. I find it interesting how we let these other countries like Israel, Ukraine, dictate our foreign policy. We give you the money. We tell you what it is. Fuck that.
It's not true. Ukraine would or we
tell Zelensky, hey, dumbass, we put you in power. You do what we say.
I just want to let me ask you guys these questions. This question.
Wild.
What is the strategic, economic, or otherwise benefit of our involvement in Ukraine?
My understanding is
zero.
That
well, go ahead.
Fuck you.
Yeah. 0 8.
But also,
zero benefit.
My understanding.
Best answer of the debate so far.
Fuck you or zero. My understanding is, first, this should not be the primary motivator, and I'm not sure that it is. But if you take just morality out of the equation, looking at Russia as a geopolitical rival, they have been weakened as a consequence of this. Now, you can say that they're going to win, and certainly they have still the stronger military, but they are not in a better position now than they were prior to the war, number one. Number two, we consider Ukraine an ally. We consider them somebody that, we have diplomatic and economic incentives for them to succeed. Also, by definition, the European Union as well. So it seems like we have diplomatic and economic reasons and to try to weaken Russia, number one.
Yes.
But I just want to be clear, at least for me, and I'm sure Luke would agree, if Ukraine did not want to fight, like, I don't think we should be forcing or coercing Ukraine to fight. If they decide, like, you know what, fuck it, we've resisted, let's have either a settlement or just wave the white flag all the way around. I mean, I think it would suck that we were empowering and rewarding Putin, but like at that point, yes, the aid should be cut off. But my understanding is they still want to fight and they just need help. So
who is they though?
Ukrainian people, right? Isn't there in the Ukrainian government?
I'm done. This man, shut up, Fox Chase. He said, you know what? F it. Shut up, Fox Chase. He says, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say Kim is a DI hire, and she's scared to keep her position. They're like, Kim, are they on your ass? Or are they like, Kim, look, man, we ain't going just cause you a cute black girl no more. We ain't doing it no more, baby girl. You're done. You got to do your job correctly. Now you're through. It's like, look, man, you being cute at the desk no longer works. You got to go.
He wants to fight.
Well, I believe largely the population has either resisted conscription or fled the country.
Yeah.
Not the majority, I'm saying, but.
Oh, I'm sure there's people doing that. Yeah. I mean,
they're drafting women and elderly.
They're not.
So I don't think
pull a polling.
I'm sorry. You're right. To be clear, I'm sure the number of people who want to pick up a gun and fight Russian soldiers, I'm sure that number.
And that's what matters.
Diminished.
Not the puppet that we put in place.
No, not even
let's not even call it puppet. Let's just say the government of a small group of people. Do you guys believe that the small government, this limited amount of people, have a right to force the people of Ukraine through conscription to go fight a war?
No, I'm saying, well, I mean, yeah, if they have drafts, they could draft people. Yeah.
So the question then becomes, when you say Ukraine wants to fight, you're talking about the oligarchs and the politicians, not the people.
Yeah, I was specifying.
Well, what they're actually.
Wait, just let me specify. If public opinion was against it, I would say, well, they democratically should listen to the public opinion.
The government of Ukraine has largely been described for decades as an oligarchy.
That's why we're not a democracy or a constitutional republic, because a democracy allows the majority to take advantage of the minority. So that's why we're say it with me now, constitutional republic.
Oligarchy. You guys know how the oligarchy formed?
Let's the majority take advantage of the minority. Yeah,
super corrupt.
Let me answer your question.
I'm making a point about the structure of the government. That's why I asked the question.
Mm-hmm.
After the fall of the Soviet Union, the general story is that you've got these Soviet factories, for instance. They run up the chain of command through the Communist Party. That's how the Soviet Union ran. When the Soviet Union collapses and Ukraine effectively becomes its own state, where does this factory answer to now that the party has been shattered? What happens was, there's one story of a guy, one of the oligarchs, got a couple of his buddies with some guns, walked into the factory and said, who's in charge? And I'm the foreman. They say, okay.
And shout out to my man Daniel Castro, man, on the higher road today. He's taking the high road today, man. So join my man Castro on the high road, because he says, never argue with fools. They will bring you down to their level and beat you to death with their experience. Trump won, you lost. We are the captains now. Oh yeah, on God. So Democrats, liberals, look at me. We captain now. We captain now.
Okay,
look at me.
We're going to take care of everything for you. We're the bosses. This is our factory now. And they say, well, what does that mean? It means all the supplies you need to come in and make the factory work, we will take care of, but you answer to me. And the worker said, that sounds great to us, actually, because we don't know who we're supposed to answer to. This created a massive wealth gap in Ukraine for decades, where you had a very small group of ultra wealthy individuals. One of the most interesting things I found about Kiev is that the price of a condo or a house was comparable to a house or a condo in the United States, despite the fact that these people were making about $400 a month. So with the government being largely oligarchic, the question of whether or not Ukraine wants to fight this war is an interesting one, and I'm curious what you guys think.
Yes. So back to
honestly, considering that we're in an oligarchy, damn near, with the the corporations running a lot of things with lobbying and all that, like, doesn't it kind of make sense that we're funding this Ukrainian war? Does it not make sense that we're using taxpayer dollars to fund Ukraine to buy weapons from us? Does that not seem a bit suspicious? I mean, pique your curiosity in any type of way, make you kind of think like, I wonder. All right, let's go.
Just public opinion. If there was an overwhelming opposition within Ukraine among Ukrainian citizens for continuing this war, then I think that they should resolve it because democracy.
Yeah. I mean, like, again, this is not something I focus on my channel. So for all I know, there's compelling evidence that the public sentiment is fuck it. Let's just again either negotiated settlement or concede the land.
Wow, 25% of the population has been displaced, with 7 million as refugees fleeing the country.
Yeah, man.
By the way,
they don't want the war. Again, it's American media that controls it. Like, yeah, we're going to go out and fight this war. We got Zelensky, and who's obviously like a puppet of the United States. It's the United States saying we need to weaken Russia at any cost. If it means Ukrainians die and we spend a bunch of money, we're going to do it. The people don't want the war.
Brings up, so it brings up a more compelling question I'd like you to answer to, though, Luke, which is this.
Wow.
Do you think ultimately that Russia likely is going to win the conflict with Ukraine and get at least a large portion of Ukrainian land? Do you think ultimately that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Then the entailment actually of your position is this: when you say weaken Russia, that you want the United States to fund an oligarchical government which will continue to draft the citizenry of the Ukraine to go die to weaken people you don't like.
Exactly.
That is the action. Hang on. I just want to make sure. What did I just say there that's incorrect?
All of it.
Okay, which thing?
Yeah. So I keep saying, and as I'm pulling up polling myself, it's been pretty quickly dropping year by year public support for this. And so as we get less and less support among Ukraine, because I'm not saying they should die for us if they don't want to. And as
nobody don't want to die for us, bro. Nobody wants to die for us.
Some of them are willing to die for their own country, and I'm saying
their country. Yeah,
they're doing
at
it
least
for
not 10 million of them.
If they're
of the country.
Well,
I'm sorry. Yeah, but that's what he meant. Like he's saying.
But
that
you're saying you want American treasure to prop this up in order to assist these war fighters for your interest to go die on behalf of an oligarchical nation, which is drafting their own citizenry. You want to pay for that because it weakens a geopolitical rival.
I think you correct me if I'm wrong, because I know this is my position. I think the position is we should be continuing to support an ally as long as they want to resist an invader, a foreign invader, which incidentally also benefits us directly because it weakens a foreign adversary, that same invader. For me, the calculus changes tremendously if it turns out that, that Zelensky is forcing the Ukrainian people to resist. Like they don't want to resist.
Yes, and that's our point.
He's I understand that he is drafting people.
Yeah, what's a draft?
He's kidnapping them. He's literally kidnapping of age men and taking them and forcing them to be in the military.
There are people who are trying to leave as refugees who are grabbed and then dragged back kicking and screaming.
The people don't want this is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So then we would
there's videos of this stuff.
Well, no.
So we agree then.
You see the videos of the women being captured too? It's nuts.
But you guys are saying, let's start with the fundamental question. What is a draft?
You are taking of age people and
compelling them into service,
compelling them, yes, to fight.
Yeah. So the thing is like when you say
and shout out to my man Fox, he said, man, no wonder the lefties are mad. Biden broke them. Yep. He said, man, Biden busted y'all bank. It's like, what? It's like, no wonder y'all so angry. You're broke. Like, of course, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. And then I want to go here and argue against Trump when Trump trying to put some money in your pocket.
You stupid.
And Kim, I ain't gonna lie, sweetheart. Hey, if you did OF, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised, and that's not an insult. That's not an insult.
If it turns out this government is forcing people, like, what are you talking about? The entailment immediately of I'm drafting your ass is that you're being forced to go fight when ordinarily you wouldn't. Why wouldn't you just have a volunteer armed forces instead of a draft? Because you're compelling a populace or a group of people who doesn't want to fight to go do it anyway.
No, I understand. So let me ask you if you recognize any distinction between this, because perhaps this is a distinction without a difference. Do you recognize that there are people who do not want Russia to conquer Ukrainian territory?
Damn it. My bad. Daniel Castro. He said, no wonder the lefties are mad. Biden broke them. He done broke the bank. My bad. But shout out Fox Chase as well. But really shout out my man Daniel Castro, man. Appreciate it.
Or Ukraine writ large, but are not prepared to pick up a gun and voluntarily attack.
Of course, sure. Yeah, sure.
Is that a distinction worth noting? Because what I'm referring to is the former, not the latter. I totally concede that based on reports, there's been drafts and conscriptions for months.
No.
Years? Okay.
Yeah.
But that my understanding is that the public sentiment of the people in Ukraine is that they don't want Russia to take this territory. If that's wrong, then my interest in funding the war, whatever it is, or propping up Ukrainian resistance to Russia plummets dramatically.
Oh, wait a second. What you're talking about here it still brings up another question, which is, let's just say it's like 55% or 60% of the nation, right, who wants this war, right? They want to keep they want to keep themselves sovereign. Let's just say that that's all the public,
like a small majority, or like
a small majority or whatever. They can institute a draft against the minority who can fight, which is going to be kids, mostly young men, right? That's going to be your warfighter age, 18 to 25. Obviously, they're going to be outnumbered by other people, so they can compel their citizenry to go fight, because they don't have to, right? But ordinarily, they would not be able to do this, nor do this compelling service, unless they were enabled by the treasury of a large first world nation, which is supporting it. So it seems like you have a moral quagmire here, a big problem.
Oh, there is like
a big problem on your end of thinking that, hey, we can use.
That's why everybody says, well, you end the funding to Ukraine, you end the war completely. And that's what some of these libs are not trying to understand. You're understanding that they're not fighting on their dollar, they're fighting on our dollar. Like, bro, they're not even really using their own weapons that they make. They're using the weapons that we make. So since we're the ones pretty much funding this war, if we pull our resources, then they have no choice but to bend the knee or just end the war.
This is a buffer against our geopolitical enemy, regardless of who it kills.
I think it's also very important to know Eastern Ukraine is ethnic Russian mostly, and a lot of them do want to be a part of Russia.
So I do want to move on, unless you want to make a quick final point, guys.
Sure, we could talk Israel.
No, I think as far as Israel, again, I'll totally concede that this is a very morally ambiguous conflict, that you pointed out that even if...
And before we get into that Israel conversation, because sweet Jesus, I mean, man, I might piss off some of my fellow Trump supporters, but hey, I got to do this musical recommendation first. Shout out my man Fox Chase, man. Let's go. Musical interlude. Be right back after this. All right. Shout out my man Fox Chase. And hey, some of y'all hated it, but some of y'all must have liked it. It stayed over 200 views the whole time. Hey, quit lying. You was feeling it.
A majority of Ukrainian citizens want to resist Russia in the sense that they don't want Russia to come take over.
They're not the ones fighting.
I think any draft or conscription at the bare minimum, and I'm not a debate philosopher like you are, so but is morally ambiguous to say the least.
60 years old.
I just think that my understanding is Ukraine wants to resist Russia. And I don't have any issue with the United States continuing to supply the means by which.
So let's move.
If the premise,
I'll wrap it.
If the premise is wrong, I would be happy to revisit.
Let's talk about Israel.
Can I? My closing is not controversial. Another reason I agree, public support is dropping. It's kind of complicated for what they support, what type of peace deal they support, what's being taken, all that. And I have the same stances from when we started based on public sentiment. And I understand what you're saying. I'll note that I also think for leverage to get a better deal for Ukraine, it's important that the United States stands like we're going to support them to infinity and beyond, so that Russia doesn't feel like, wait, if we just wait out American support for Ukraine, we can take even more, right? So that they believe, gosh, we're stopping up at this line. Okay,
let's talk about Israel. So a couple days ago, it was announced that there was a ceasefire that was reached. We're still waiting to see if it happens. There's going to be a vote in Israel. There's contention over who is responsible. Biden says it was his diplomacy and his plan. However, some foreign policy experts, including The Atlantic, wrote that Trump is the one who pushed this over the limit. So there's a lot of questions pertaining to Israel. Should we be involved in this conflict? Should we continue to fund them? What degree of support for Palestine do you guys have, and how do you view the war? And I don't know who wants to jump in first.
Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll put my position out there. I don't think that we should be supporting either the Palestinians nor the Israelis in this conflict. Never have thought so. It's a terrible entanglement for us. We can't win regardless of which side we were to back. We can't win if we back Palestinians, not in the court of public opinion. The entire Arab world would love us. whereas most of the Western world would hate us. If we back Israel, the exact opposite. Most of the Arab world will absolutely hate us, and there will be blowback and consequences from that too. It's another great reason why our foreign policy should be one of disentangling ourselves from these foreign conflicts. And especially in Israel, we need to back away from that conflict as fast as possible. And that's always been the case. It's the first time I've ever heard progressives actually say something like that. So
I'll give my stance
for that. I'll give them some credit.
No foreign aid to Israel. I think Israel's caused the United States a lot of problems. They run our foreign policy. Every single terrorist.
Why'd you soy face, Tim? Why did you soy face?
200,000 Ukrainian troops deserted.
Yeah.
AP reporting the official number is 100,000 charged, and estimates of upwards of 200,000 people have deserted.
That's why they were kidnapping people.
I don't want to get back on Ukraine, but when I saw that, I went, "Holy
yeah, dude!
Crap.
Like it's
Israel."
Yeah, but no, it's crazy. With that's what I'm saying. The conflict in Ukraine.
They're forcing people to fight a losing war. To where the soldiers on the ground is like, bro, what am I here for? We're losing. I'm out. Like, I'm running. I'm not gonna sit here and be told to die because my leader said so. We're not doing that.
Is a waste of time. But yeah, when it comes to Israel, I don't see any strategic advantages.
Now, you Ukrainian soldiers run far until this war is over and then wait for a change in leadership. Like, don't worry, we got you. Because, hey, you think Zelensky's going to stay a leader after this? I doubt it. I doubt it.
The United States enjoys from supporting Israel. There's virtually none. Oh, we have there are eyes and ears in the Middle East.
And shout out to Daniel Castro. Adam thinks he's the shit. He never quits. He keeps making jokes and they never hit. Enjoying my Trump-made money. Adam likes a hot dog in his buns. Oh, whoa. Well, okay.
Well, the Middle East wouldn't hate us if we did not support Israel. So, yeah, I think when it comes to Israel and our support of them, the only reason we do is because we have very rich lobbyists that make sure that we do. And our support of Israel needs to drop off.
Don't tell me you guys are going to support Israel now.
So, number one,
I think you asked about the potential peace. We're going to have to see how it's implemented, if it works, because even immediately it was sort of, is this
Netanyahu delayed the vote
go through? I think they ended up voting today. Right. But and then the next, because a part of the deal is that later parts of the deal are going to be negotiated later. So seeing how all that plays out,
phase 2 and 3 and stuff like that. Yeah.
But the fighting stopping, the dying stopping, the carnage stopping is obviously good. Interestingly, I've seen some people on the left not acknowledge at all what you're talking about with the Trump envoy's role in this. Josiah and I both said did we cover this? No,
I covered it. I haven't about behind the scenes. Like 3 days.
For us, it's obviously silly to not acknowledge at all the months of negotiations and the deal that's been constructed under the Biden administration. Biden's still the president, so if you're giving credit, that would some would lie there. But I acknowledge that the bipartisan presence in these negotiations, adding to, hey, it's not just us. You can't wait out the clock on Biden, Netanyahu, and Hamas. Trump is also saying the same united voice about what's gonna happen here, and that united front I do think was powerful. And with all my feelings that you've heard throughout this show about Trump, I'd give him or his envoy Steve Witkoff, is that
real estate guy? No, 100%. Like I don't want to put cart before the horse, because again, foreign policy, not my area of expertise to the extent I have any. My understanding was there have been like
even experts get it wrong constantly.
Well, but haven't there been like ceasefires negotiated or talks?
Sure.
We got a ceasefire and then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I'm with Luke. Like, you got to wait and see. But I am happy to give Trump a lot of the credit here, some of the credit here, because it was bipartisan effort. It was Biden's deal, my understanding of the framework of the deal, and Trump left them no safe harbor. He was like, you take this deal because you're not getting, I want this done before inauguration day.
I completely agree with you. Trump is the best. He's the greatest president.
Right here. I'm going to withdraw that fuck you that I gave to you, and I'm going to toss it your way, all right?
So wait, what is your guys' stance on Israel, though, and support, though? I see that you guys agree with the deal, which it's good that there is a ceasefire. I agree. But I think in general, our aid of Israel has created a lot of problems for the United States.
I think in general, throughout the conflict, there's lots of times and reasons to be supporting Israel, but I think what we're learning a little bit through the end of this process is Biden should have done a lot more leveraging, thus threatening withdrawing and potentially withdrawing aid to get a better resolution earlier. And the fact that didn't happen, I think, is
all Biden had to do. And this is crazy, because if you really think about it, all Biden had to do was Trump did make a threat. That's all Biden had to do. And he didn't make not a single threat. He didn't say not a single word All he says, we need to hasten to get this ceasefire done. Trump was like, yo, look, if I don't get this ceasefire, you are going to see some shit. You're going to see some stuff that you couldn't even imagine. And that was enough. That's all the president of the United States of America had to say. It could have came out of Biden or Trump. It'd have been just as effective. It's just a position that matters. And the fact that he didn't say that, kind of let you know. Like, I wonder, like, did the administration want this war to keep going?
Disdain.
I'm uncomfortable. I was just going to say as a general proposition, and I'm not sure there's any nation this applies to except Israel. I'm uncomfortable with the notion of unconditional support to any ally.
Of course.
And I feel like even more like in the United Kingdom or even Ukraine, I feel like Israel gets a blank check from the United States as far as like that makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
We shouldn't be. They have nuclear weapons. We shouldn't even be giving it to them off of that.
I kind of feel like there's a largely I don't want to say complete agreement, but large agreement over we should be funding these wars. Trump did help get this past the line. Mm-hmm. I think this has been like the easiest subject for
Nobody likes APAC.
Yeah. Like, who'd have thought Israel was the easiest subject for this debate? Literally. Everyone's kind of like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, I think it's the whole support of Israel. One thing I've noticed is that whether left or right, both people oppose Israel for different reasons. On the left, it tends to be for more humanitarian reasons. On the right, it's more for they influence our foreign policy, and this is problematic.
Economic too.
Yeah, economically as well. So, I think this is why the ADL is rallying so hard. Like, we need to stop this, blah, blah, blah. Jonathan Greenblatt was literally in Israel talking about we need some type of sophisticated situation where we stop these dissenters of Israel like we did with the Hezbollah pager attack. And I'm like, holy shit, this guy's over there. He's an American citizen, right? Allegedly, in a foreign land talking about how we need to police language in the United States. That's crazy. But that's what they do.
Let's we have about a half an hour. So I do want to make sure we get into the harder culture war issues. We talked about Trump as a person, actions he's taken. We talked about
Repeal the 19th.
Yeah. So let's start here. And I'm going to kick it off with something that's rather speculative. But we saw the overturn of Roe v. Wade. The argument largely from the Supreme Court is like, what are we doing here? Right? They seem to take this position that this is not an answer for this. This is not a question for the Supreme Court. Let's start at the states. I believe there's a strong possibility in this next coming Trump administration, we see the overturning of Obergefell,
which is the 2015 case, which codified gay marriage.
Basically required all the states to recognize that if a gay marriage had existed, and they moved to another state, they have to be recognized.
Honored, yeah.
Right. I think that elections have consequences, of which one was not directly, but with this structure of the Supreme Court, it seems likely that we're going to see a massive cultural shift. I think it's probable that we do have a case, I believe, that's going through now. I forgot which one it is, that could see gender identity removed as a protected class. I also think the Supreme Court may likely, if challenged, or I should say, if a challenge is presented, overturn gay marriage. And I'm curious what our non-liberal friends think, because largely it's conservatives aren't going out there and making a principal issue that gay marriage should be ended, but I think they probably support the end of gay marriage.
I'll go first on this then, Andrea, because I know you have more nuance. Mine is very simple. Gays should be able to have civil unions, not gay marriage. It's a religious sacrament. Then, obviously we all know the Abrahamic religions forbid homosexuality. So I don't think that they should have the ability to marry, but they should have all the civil liberties and protections that come from marriage. But the title itself needs to be changed. I also think that gay marriage is kind of a slippery slope that's allowed a lot of sexual degeneracy to kind of flourish, right? Whether it's the 99 genders, all the other problems that we have with the drag queens, etc. I understand that it's a small minority, trans represent 1%, but it's been problematic. And gay marriage has absolutely allowed that to flourish.
Okay, let me
let me
first
get my position,
and then you give your position, and I know,
So anyway,
okay, stop, Andrew.
You stop, Luke.
You said that every
Luke,
time.
Calm down, Luke.
I thought I was about to go.
Well, Luke, let him give your position,
breath,
and then you can
take a breath.
Literally said,
hostility is
I'll go
not
first,
necessary.
then Andrew. Calm down, Luke.
There we go.
Go for it. Remember how Tim said, I'm interested to hear from the non-liberals, their
I forgot
position.
about that, yeah.
That's not, are you a non-liberal?
I just no.
He's going to say it's a libertarian.
Stop talking. Luke,
let's
stop talking, Luke.
Luke, just
stop talking.
Okay, guys.
And then you can refute it.
Luke,
I know you disagree with us.
I don't actually care to go right now. I'm just curious, why you're this wound up.
Okay, guys, quick.
The only person is you.
Right, okay, guys.
Berkeley.
The reason I asked the non-liberals is because they're going to present the argument that is outside the current standards. It is currently the standard that Obergefell is upheld. What do you think?
So marriage is only as useful as it is recognized. And the state cannot force people.
And shout out my man Fox Chase and Daniel Welch, man, putting us at 7 super chats left until we open up the call-in and run conspiracy hour. Let's go, guys. Appreciate the support.
To recognize marriage, they can't do it. people's purview of marriage is that it's between men and women. There's a reproductive status which occurs with it, and that it's a institution which is sacramental through religion. This is the purview of most people who still identify in this country. By the way, the majority still identify as Christian, like it or not, they still do. And so marriage is only as useful as it's recognized. We've had gay marriage now for a while, and it's still not recognized. That's the truth is that Christians still don't recognize it. They still don't consider it to be valid. They may say you're married. They may, the state can imbue you with marriage. And you can even have polls where conservatives say, you know what, fine, whatever, right? But they themselves, they don't recognize it as being valid. So I think it's completely fine for the Supreme Court to say, look, this is invalid. This should be a religious institution. We should take it out of the state's hands anyway.
Just to clarify, the ruling on Obergefell wasn't about whether it was a religious institution or not. It was about
I know.
It was a core component was whether states should recognize licensing from other states.
Yeah, just the secular part.
Right. Yeah, it was 5-4 on the liberal side, which is why I think it might go 5-4 inverting, overturning.
It could be. Wait, before you respond, because Myron said something interesting that I did not hear Andrew echo, and I'm curious on that. He made a caveat for like civil unions or like secular unions. Would you do that as well, or no?
No, I think here's what I think. I think that marriage itself as an institution from the state is gone anyway. I mean, look at the divorce rates, everything else. It's basically destroyed from a secular paradigm. I actually don't even understand the point of marriage for secularists. If it's just for tax purposes.
I was about to say taxes.